As we continue with Module 2, this week we're going to learn about Charles Darwin, Francis Galton, and their contributions to psychology in the 1800s. We'll take a look at the species problem and how science and religion tried to answer it. We'll look at Charles Darwin, his theory of evolution, and his major contributions to psychology. We'll finish with Francis Galton, his major contributions, and his ideas about eugenics. Before we learn more about Darwin's theory of natural selection, let's take a look at the context. Let's set the stage for the times. For many centuries, philosophers, scientists, and ordinary people wondered, why are species so diverse? Take a look at the dogs at the bottom of the screen. Look how diverse they are. We have different sizes, different colors, different shapes, different shaped faces. Their ears are different, even their tails are different. People also wondered why we only have some species in the form of fossils. And finally, people wondered how Noah from the Bible, how Noah got all of those animals onto a single boat. These questions, and others like them, make up what was known as the species problem. Why are there so many different types of animals within a species? Where did all of this diversity come from? In the late 1500s, many of the church's leaders were also scholars. They taught at universities, colleges, they served in community roles, they served on city councils. They made big decisions not only about what happened within the church, but also what happened outside of the church in the community with ordinary people. Together, religious leaders came up with an answer. They explained that diversity is part of the bigger plan. Nature was designed to be diverse. Each animal was made specifically for their environment. Therefore, there is no reason to study evolution. There is no reason to study change over time. Animals were made that way. That's the answer. This explanation allowed these religious leaders to continue practicing their faith and studying nature, studying animals, studying plant life. It wasn't that they were opposed to studying biology. It's just their explanation for the diversity in biology centered on their religious beliefs. At the same time, in the late 1500s, the scientific revolution begins. Some of these religious leaders challenge the traditional explanation that diversity exists because it was designed to exist by a greater power. They challenge this explanation and begin to develop theories of their own. Then in the 1700s and 1800s, the scientific method rises in popularity and becomes the dominant method for us to explore the world. By the late 1800s, scientists begin to apply the scientific method to the study of the human mind and behavior. There were several people who attempted to explain the species problem from a more scientific perspective. In the 1700s, one of the first individuals to make notable contributions was Erasmus Darwin. He was a physician, and he was Charles Darwin's grandfather. He believed that newer, more complex species, like the human, developed from simpler species. Then, in the late 1700s, Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, he was a French naturalist, he suggested that some of our traits, our qualities, can be passed on to our offspring. His idea was known as the inheritance of acquired characteristics, the idea that we inherit characteristics from our parents. Several decades later, Charles Darwin, Erasmus's grandson, proposed his own theory of natural selection. It wasn't published until the late 1850s, but he actually began working on it in the 1830s.